Hello and welcome back to another episode of Quick Spin, the Autoweek podcast that gets to the essence of the automobile. Today, we are joined by a very special guest. Randy Nonnenberg is joining us from Bring a Trailer, and he's driving the 2021 Ford F-150 PowerBoost. He actually did some towing, and he brought a trailer. Perfectly enough, we're going to talk extensively about this Ford F-150 in just a little bit. And hey, we're going to talk about Bring a Trailer and the Bring a Trailer podcast. You can also take a look at this Ford F-150 on our Instagram page right now. That's at Autoweek USA. And hey, while you're there, why don't you head over to our Facebook, click that like button, that way you get all the great Autoweek content we deliver daily. We're going to spend a lot of time talking about this Ford F-150 in just one second, but first we have to pay the bills. Want to join us and our friends at Road and Track at annual testing events, epic automotive events like the Quail, and for excursions around the world? Join the Track Club by Road and Track. You'll get first dibs on these ultra-exclusive experiences, full access to premium print and digital contents, tons of privileges and perks, and the opportunity to virtually chat with the best auto editors in the world. Hop on into the Track Club by visiting roadandtrack.com/autoweek. That's ROADANDTRACK.com/AUTOWEEK. And Randy, we're talking about the 2021 Ford F-150 PowerBoost. The hybrid F-150, is that right, Randy?
That is absolutely right. You said PowerBoost like a question. That's like a statement, man. It's a big feature. It's pretty cool.
Pretty cool indeed. And you were actually bringing a trailer somewhere. You were actually going to go fetch a nice little Cortina, which we're going to talk about in all of its glory in just a second. But first, Randy, let's talk about why you're here. You're here because you have started a podcast for Bring a Trailer called the Bring a Trailer Podcast. Can you tell me a little about that podcast really fast?
Yeah, you bet. Well, we're excited about it. Well, there's so many people in the BAT community that are sort of behind the scenes, or they're commenters, or they're selling cars, or they're buying cars. Some of them kind of become BAT famous, right? Like being Instagram famous. They're like sort of fourth tier famous on BAT, and people are like, who are these people? So there's certainly a lot of folks that we can talk to, interview, bring to the forefront, and learn about their collecting and buying and selling and what kind of cars they're into.
And cars, for those that aren't familiar, Bring a Trailer is probably the coolest, if not the biggest, car auction site on the internet, and it has the best community, I think, of any car community or any subculture on the internet.
Yeah, it's been, a long time coming, right? It's been around for 14 years, and it was kind of the slow path towards creating a positive and civil discourse on the internet, which is very, very rare. So we've been working at it a long time, and yeah, the community members are really amazing, from real, big timers who own a whole bunch of cars to sort of people brand new to the hobby.
And quite the hobby it is. But no, let's go back to this Ford pickup truck, right? You were doing exactly what you advocate for others to do, and you were going to go get a car. Can you tell me a little bit about how this truck did while you were getting the car, and just tell me about the truck?
Yeah, absolutely. So 2021 Ford F-150 with the PowerBoost, which is the new sort of hybrid setup that they have, and there's like a generator on board. There's a lot of features that are probably pretty amazing if you're a real do-it-yourselfer, or if you're a pro contractor, or you need like electricity in remote places. I kept thinking it'd be amazing for like a camping rig, family adventure type rig. But yeah, I used it because I don't tow a lot of cars around. I don't have a V8 powered pickup in my arsenal. I drive a Toyota pickup, which is too light duty to really tow a car, being that it's a 1994 model year. But I was talking to you guys, and it's like, Randy doesn't need to drive a sports car and review it. Like, what I would actually want is like an awesome utility, powerful, but not overly huge pickup truck, because I love, finding cars for sale, and sometimes they run, sometimes they don't. I've got a number of cars myself, and I got to get them to the paint shop, or I've got to get them from one workshop to another. And so to grab a, open car trailer and hook it to a 2-inch receiver on something that can do the job, no problem, I'm often patching that together. So I thought, hey, it'd be interesting to get the latest pickup truck from hopefully a few manufacturers. I'd love to compare a few other ones here in the future, but this first step was this awesome new Ford hybrid. So it had a single car aluminum actual U-Haul trailer. I went and paid $60 a day to grab a U-Haul trailer for my needs, and I towed 2 different vehicles on it. One was a Toyota Land Cruiser FJ40 1975 model year that needs a new engine put in it, so I dragged it down to my house, actually, where we're going to do that project. And then, you mentioned a Cortina. I don't know how many people people in your audience are stoked on those, but those have graced the pages of Autoweek back in the day. A little British saloon car, 1966 model year that I actually just bought. So I drove with the open trailer for 3 hours and grabbed this car in San Luis Obispo, California, and turned around and dragged it home for 3 hours. So really got the feel of the truck.
And that is a long time to be hauling anything. But, Randy, and our audience, you actually recorded a little snip of you hauling that little Lotus. And we're going to go to that right now.
So I'm driving the F-150 PowerBoost hybrid right now after a long day. I've driven about 7 hours today with a open vehicle trailer behind it. Did a little bit of driving around without trailer, and now I've had this long haul day with the trailer. Towed 2 different vehicles with it, and the most recent and the really long haul was a lightweight vehicle. Was a Lotus Cortina 1966 little light sedan. So not a huge weight stress test, but super interesting. 3 hours plus on the freeway with the vehicle on it, and then a couple hours with no vehicle on the trailer. And yeah, I have to say, I've never driven a vehicle with this many sort of driver's aids, electronic aids, while you're towing. So it's got lane departure warning, it's got, distance to the vehicle in front of you, and you feel a couple of those aids, and, in a crosswind, you feel if you're veering towards the lane lines, and there was some construction on Highway 101, and so there's super narrow lanes and, weaves and cones and different sorts of things. Definitely felt in control, felt great. A couple of grades climbed and descended, a couple of interesting grades. It has aids for backing up and hooking up to the trailer. It has all these sorts of, the digital cluster. You can be thumbing through different towing features and analytics almost while you're driving down the highway. So anyhow, lots of features, lots of tech aimed at towing, which I think is pretty helpful. I'm not a pro when it comes to towing. I mean, I've towed a dozen times in my life, and it's always like this. It's always somebody else's trailer, often somebody else's truck, towed with Broncos, towed with F-250s, towed with a Suburban rental. It's always sort of patched together like this. But you learn a lot each time about the competence of the vehicle, about, the quality of the trailer and the tie downs and all that sort of stuff. So anyway, piece of cake with this truck. The backup camera is super helpful for hookups. And yeah, just a great piece of equipment for doing this sort of a job.
Now, Randy, towing when you don't tow all the time can be a huge stressor. It sounds like this F-150 gave you a lot of aids to make it a little easier of a lift on you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the features that it has inside, I think they're useful. I mean, even if you're not towing, right, just going down the road and a normal, commute sort of situation, the truck is just packed with, interesting things that take you a while to warm up to and figure out, right? I mean, the drive modes, right? There's like the different four-wheel drive modes, and then there's the sport and the eco mode and all this sort of stuff. It's come so far in terms of features and aids and electronics that you can hop in it and push button start and all that stuff. You just kind of hop in it and get going, and it does so much for you that it is much easier than I would say it used to be to hop from, tow vehicle to tow vehicle to tow vehicle, where there's just sort of some different dynamics in it. I really feel that the driver aids and the way they've set up the truck, and even just the size of the truck, right? This was a 4-door truck. I call that a quad cab. Sometimes I'm sure Ford has their name for it. It just felt, a shorter bed and a larger passenger cabin and a nice sort of medium-ish wheelbase was really great for this sort of assignment.
Well, that sounds like a transition in the biz, because you also gave a little walk around of this F-150 to show off its little facts and features and highlights, which we're going to go to that right now.
Time for a walk around of the F-150 PowerBoost Platinum Edition. This is a 4-wheel drive truck. It's an FX4 off-road package truck. And yeah, from the outside, you can kind of see the new updates to the design. The headlights have sort of a more vertical look and feel, new grille. Taillights are slightly different. But yeah, outside it isn't radically different from the previous generation F-150. The Platinum gets the big polished panel across the tailgate. Obviously, the big changes to this thing are underneath the skin. the PowerBoost hybrid system, I'll climb in right now, means that the drive controls are pretty different. You have a really different feel. I just moved it out of the shop and out onto the road, and it does that totally silently. Most of the sort of slow speed maneuvers are all done 100% electric, so you're kind of cruising around in silent mode. It does have the drive mode selector. That was kind of one of the interesting things to play with. It gives you, normal sport. Sport kicks it into four-wheel drive, which I thought was interesting. And then you have, mud and sand and eco mode to optimize for fuel economy and the hybrid settings. The biggest difference I found from this one compared to the previous F-150 is the dash layout. The center screen is meaningfully larger and works really well with CarPlay and all the sort of tech features. I actually personally have a Expedition, which is kind of the previous gen feel of this, and this one is noticeably larger. Now the cluster is 100% digital as opposed to a digital screen in between a couple of analog dials. So the sort of tech capability and features of the vehicle are really pretty lights out. I think there's plenty of room on the dash here for this large screen. On the new Mach-E and Teslas and all that sort of stuff, sometimes I feel like the screen is just kind of like almost outsizing the car or outsizing the dash, and you're just kind of like, whoa, is more better? But here, the size that they brought it up to, I think is super appropriate and great, and the person in the passenger seat can use it. And my kids riding in the back seat of this sort of quad cab setup can see the music that's playing on Spotify or whatever on the screen. So yeah, really useful controls and details. I did play with the some of the other new features are the hideaway console shifter and the console that sort of flips open like you're going to be signing contracts or something on the console. If I think that's probably super useful if you're on the construction site or anything. I was kind of stretching for some usefulness for it, but I actually think it's a pretty neat feature, the hideaway shifter. Kind of glad that they didn't get rid of the shifter completely, but made it so it's pretty versatile. Great on the sort of comfort rankings. It's not the 80s F-250 anymore with the metal dash and just all utility. This thing feels like a pretty high-end vehicle inside, given all the creature comforts.
If there's a young person in your life who's really into cars, give them the gift of R&T Crew, the ultimate subscription box by Road and Track for kids ages 6 to 10. Every month, a box is delivered to their door and is stuffed with cool accessories, fun activities, and a magazine chock full of facts, stories, games, and more. Sign up now to receive the all-new Mad Scientist box and enter code Autoweek for 10% off an annual box subscription. Just head over to rtcrew.com, that's rtcrew.com, and use code Autoweek. So, Randy, on a quick spin, we try to get to the brass tacks of a vehicle. We hit the hard-hitting questions. And, Randy, I posit to you, what is the essence of the 2021 Ford F-150 PowerBoost? What makes it special to you?
I just think the versatility of it is super compelling. I think this whole hybrid and electric universe has not really overlapped much with the pickup crowd or universe. And I just think that, the F-150, I don't know if it still is, but it certainly has reigned supreme, like the best-selling vehicle in America for some years. So to see this sort of technology come into that space of something that will be so broadly used, I find really compelling, and it kind of makes me an optimist for where vehicles and these larger sort of utility-oriented pickups and vehicles are headed. So when it comes to the essence of it, I love the way it looks, I love the way it performs, and I love the way it lets me go do stuff that, many other vehicles wouldn't let me do. And so I could kind of check it off with one vehicle instead of, having an SUV for the family and having a, battery electric to do this other thing and having, it kind of checks a bunch of these boxes in a really versatile way.
The Swiss Army truck. I'm here for it. No, that's perfect, Randy. And also, hey, listeners, while you're listening to this, when you're all done, why don't you head over to bringatrailer.com and just, check out the site. It's fantastic. Then /podcast to check out their podcast. It's a fantastic show. And Randy, thank you so much for joining us today. And listeners, thank you so much for listening today. Don't forget to head over to the Apple Podcast Store, wherever you get this bad boy, and drop a 5-star review. We really appreciate it. Also, hey, like I said, why don't you head over to our Facebook page, click that like button. But again, most importantly, without your listenership, none of this would be possible. So thank you for listening.